Hello and welcome to another episode of Merricks Garage. Today, the green Blazer, that beautiful 78 Blazer, is back in the shop getting a roll cage, getting a new Dakota digital dash, getting some ORD custom leaf springs. But before we get to all that, we had to address a significant issue in this customer's frame. You see, somewhere in this truck's previous life, someone decided that they wanted to change the body and the frame was in the way, so they just cut out a ton of the frame. That was making me rather nervous, and so we set about fixing this previous owner's damage and getting this truck safe and ready for this guy to cruise around with his family. I guess this week's a cautionary tale of make sure you dive under the trucks you're looking at. Now, I missed this when I did my walkthrough because I wasn't expecting someone to do something this ridiculous. But you know what? I'm surprised every day. I guess I should stop being surprised. But for those of you who are out there looking for a project truck, just make sure to check everything out as thoroughly as you can. There are good, clean trucks out there, but there's also trucks that are hiding some demons. And we were able to exorcise the demons, and that's what we're gonna do in this week's video of Merricks Garage. Let's go get it. Well, the green Blazer's back, and it's not going to be as easy of a job this time. So when it was here last time, we dealt with the Bilsteins, we dealt with all the steering. You remember we did all this, the HD tie rod ends, the crossover steering, the new drag link, and it's driving great. The truck really did improve tremendously with that. But it's time to throw the new leaf springs in, which is going to be pretty simple, I hope. We have a bigger issue, and I just heard an expression that I'm going to use right now. There is nothing more expensive than a cheap truck. And this is the unfortunate reality for a lot of people out there who are looking for a truck like this. You don't really know what you're getting into. And I'll show you in a second what I'm talking about here. But you can see a truck, it looks great. It thinks it checks all the boxes, and you get into the build and you realize that it has some major limitations. So let's dive under the truck. Let me show you what we're dealing with. So I was going to be doing all the body bushings. This thing needs new body bushings, no problem there. I don't know how I missed this in the first place, because I just wasn't ever thinking this was possible. But what's going on here is someone has replaced this body with a late model body. So I believe in 80 or 82, 80 I think, they switched to a body style that gave you a footwell for the rear seats. Well, this is a 78 frame. They put a body on that doesn't fit. And so whoever did it decided that they would just hack the heck out of the frame. And this is very concerning. These frames are not strong to begin with, and doing this is just dramatically compromised. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the frame is potentially bent in places. I mean, I'm already seeing some tearing. Long story short, we're gonna fix this, but I know this is an unplanned expense for the owner. This really bums me out for him. It's a beautiful truck, but this has to be dealt with. So, yeah, bummer. But we got a lot of cool stuff we're doing to this. It's gonna get fixed. It's gonna be in here for quite a bit. We are gonna be putting a roll cage in it, and we're putting a Dakota digital dash in it. We're gonna be putting the ORD leaf springs in it, new body bushings. What else was on the list? Do you remember? I mean, that's enough for the next week at least. So, moral of the story, square bodies ain't cheap. They may be cheap to buy, but to get them running and get them dialed is not cheap. Here are the custom ORD leaf springs. So I've already pressed in all the bushings. These are their Kevlar bushings that take a ton of abuse. This is the tension shackle that will go in the back. Obviously bushings in that already, along with the greasable bolts. There is a front and a back with this. So you will see that on, which one is it? Is it that, or is it this one that has the military wrap? it's the front one, has the military wrap on it. So you see how it comes all the way around. This is the front. I've marked it on here so we know it's a rear spring facing the front right now. And same thing up here. But what you'll notice is there's not a whole lot of lift to them. So I'm gonna give you a before and after. Right now, on its weight, right at the rail, I'm calling that, we'll call that 46 1/4. And then we'll come back at you. And we've got these new springs on, so you can see how much lift you get out of it. They shouldn't be lifting it a bunch because I ordered these to match what he's got right now, because he's not going up any size and tire. He likes the ride height the way it is. So let's get after it. The leaf springs are leaf springs, right? Just a bunch of steel that's bent and laid together to give you some sort of suspension. Well, that's what I thought for years until I tried the off-road design custom leaf springs, and that's exactly what they are. If you go take a look at the average lift kit or factory springs, you'll see that it's usually a 3-pack, maybe a 4-pack, sometimes more in the back of just various durometer and strength leaves. Now, that works for the vast majority of applications, but if you are looking to lift your truck and maintain the ride, maintain the control, maintain the stability, and in many cases improve all those three, custom leaf springs, whether it's from Deaver or whether it's from Off-Road Design, can make a huge difference in your truck. We're installing these Off-Road Design leaf springs. I spec'd them all out with Watson over at Off-Road Design, told him what the truck's going to be used for, the weight, the height, what we wanted to do, and he put it all into his magic calculator and spit out a perfect set of leaf springs that dramatically improved how this thing rides. It takes an old, bouncy ride that the Squarebodies are known for and smoothed it out. If you're doing leaf springs, if you're doing suspension, you owe it yourself to take a look at the ORD custom leaf springs. They really, really do make a difference. The first thing you'll notice is that they are a lot thicker. They use thinner leaves, but they use more of them, so they can customize the spring to not just be either all or nothing. There's a nice supple float in the middle by having multiple leaf packs. You also won't generally have an overload at the bottom, which will really impact how the back handles. That's the long, thick one that when you bottom out, it just stops you like a rock. So we installed these in the truck. It drives like a dream, and this is how we put them in. We are finishing up on the Green Blazer for this go around, and it's been a labor heavy week putting the leaf springs in. Obviously they fought us. Just there's a lot of old hardware in there that was stuck, and quite honestly, if you look down the line, this hanger is actually starting to bend out due to the terrible hack job that was done to the frame up here. So you can see the reinforcements that we're building. So Ryan built this reinforcing 2x2 by quarter wall that I'm now going to burn in along here to return some rigidity to this frame, and then we're going to throw this cross member in to span the gap and basically push the frame rails apart so that we can get the hangers from being like this to being back up vertical. It wasn't fun. A lot of this stuff was old, obviously, but the bigger deal is just what they did to the frame. I still cannot wrap my head around why somebody thought that would be a good idea. But anyway, let's get this welded up and see if we can get this frame back into some sort of alignment. I was gonna put some body bushings, a 1-inch body lift on here. I think I can do without that. Well, we got the frame done, the suspension done, exhaust back in. We're gonna go do a little test drive now, but This thing is starting to get dialed.
Yeah.
You like it?
You can feel it. It's just solid.
That's
you know?
awesome. There you can see all our handiwork.
All right, let's go jump it.
We're on film. Okay, let's go. It's driving great. I gotta say, the leaf springs, the custom leaf springs, noticeable improvement. And we're starting to realize the brakes might need some work, but the frame is a lot more rigid. The suspension feels great. The steering's on point. Yeah, this thing's really coming into its own. I mean, it should. We've done a lot of work on it. But there's still some room for improvement. Special offer for this video. If you click that subscribe button right now, you will be subscribed for free. This is an offer to anyone listening. Free subscription to Merricks Garage just by clicking that button down below. Okay, roll cage is starting to line up on this guy. So the DIY 4x roll cage is killer because it comes with this piece right here, which will tie in to the roll cage and add like a centering bar to it. I love it. And then these down here are staked, those guys. Meaning, let me show you over here on this guy. Top plate, bottom plate, 4 holes drilled around the periphery, 1 hole drilled up through that the stake comes through. This, the tube, right like that. So you're gonna have at least something holding it and kind of keying in. I like how DIY 4x does his cages. Look at that bend, that's great. So I'm gonna tack these in place so we can start measuring for what this top bar is gonna be. As promised, here are the new numbers, and it's looking like it raised it about 1.5 inches, I would guess. So what else have we done to this truck? Well, we made the right decision to upgrade his seats. I think this is a crucial upgrade. I mean, I'm a little biased because it uses my seat brackets, but it gets you shoulder, it gets you lap, it gets you headrest, split folding, leather. And if you're gonna be carrying little dudes and little dudettes back here, I think it's crucial that you have some safety. Which brings me to the next part. The roll cage that we're putting in. So this is the DIY 4x cage. Well, it's the B pillar. This is the DIY 4x B pillar and staked pocket lower mounts. And then these are the tie-ins for the seat belts that work really well to kind of anchor things down. And then I went ahead and bent up another rear family cage style piece. This is all bent out of 1.75 inch by .120 wall DOM tubing, which is what you should be building your roll cages out of. He did not want to go with the halo, which would have been extended from here around the roof and then down the A pillar. Maybe I can convince him to do that later, but at this point, my biggest concern was just getting some safety back here. Because as much as we like to think these things are indestructible, that's a fiberglass roof in the back, and I am not a big fan of throwing people in the back without having some sort of protection. So this is where we stand with the roll cage. He's gonna be picking this guy up tomorrow, so we need to wrap up. I gotta throw another piece across here, just a cross member tomorrow to tie it all together. And then when he is taking a look at it, I will get some feedback on if he wants to do anything else with it. But it's looking good. We've pulled the dash out to replace that with the Dakota Digital dash. Let me show you that guy because it is really, really clean. So this is his old dash where speedometer didn't work and various other things didn't work. And this is the new Dakota Digital that is controlled through these units right here. If you haven't seen my video on the Dakota Digital, I'm gonna link it up here so you can see when I did the Dakota Digital dash in my Suburban. I love it. It's fantastic. Huge, huge upgrade. Something you're gonna stare at all day long. So I think it's a worthwhile investment. And then what else? So the springs are all in. It's driving great. Starting to work on the dash and get that all lined up. Oh, this is a trick I've learned. I have yet to find a connector that works well to tap into these. But this is the cluster that goes, or the connector that goes into the back of your dash. And from here, you're gonna get your high beam indication, you're gonna get your turn signal indicators, you're gonna get four-wheel drive indicators. So you can just wire directly into this, and then down here to this box to get your high beams, your left turn signal, right turn signal, four-wheel drive, what gear you're in if you have that sort of system. Really, really pretty cool. And then we've also got this. It's gonna give him his outside air temperature, which I think is rad. A lot of stuff going on with this guy. We've been busy with it, but it's starting to really come into its own. It's gonna be rad when it's all wrapped up, and I am stoked to be a part of this build. Wrapped up on the cage this morning. Just had to notch and throw up this one cross tube and then weld everything in, but really stoked on how this came out. It looks good. It's tied in nice and tight. It's not too much, which is what I think the guy wanted. I don't think he wanted a roll cage really, so I gave him the bare minimum. And plenty of room for heads. This top bar is gonna be out of the way. Everything's tied in nicely and it lined up great. So really happy with how this came together. And obviously we've still got to do his dash, but he can work that out. So yeah, check it. All of this is in, all tied into the seat belt. Just gotta throw the roof on, and my seats are in. These look good. I'm stoked on how these look. Yeah. Gonna give him some nice seating options for all the little people in his life. Whew! I'm worked. It's been a thrash fest, but it's done. Just throw the roof on and take a couple final shots. Fired up on this. Oops. Yeah, you don't even see it. Stoked. I hope you guys found this week's episode helpful and informational. If you want to see more, I'm going to link the video for the original video on this one, where we did all the steering and went through the frame and things like that. Also going to link to my seat bracket, so you can go take a look at the seat brackets that I manufacture. I make both front and rear seat brackets. And give me a subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Merricks Garage.